Today we're taking it easy. We're playing Death Knight, and because Death Knights have a little more armor than a priest or shaman, we're playing as all 3 specs, to varying results. Now, a lot of people don't like Death Knight's limited mobility, and that's fair. They are very slow, but they are meant to be slow, because at the same time they are unstoppable, which is very in character for them. Their defensives really represent that being unstoppable, as not only do they prevent a lot of damage, but they also give you certain immunities to certain effects. You have anti-magic shell, which not only absorbs magic damage, but as long as it is active, negative effects can't be applied to you. There are of course some exceptions with some boss abilities and whatnot, but just if you know a negative effect is about to be applied to you and it's gonna be a dangerous one, probably, just pop this. In my opinion, anti-magic shell is the most powerful defensive in the game because of this. Death Pact has a lot more use though. It gives you a huge shield but lowers your healing taken while it is active, so know that you shouldn't spam heal right after using this. Only 30% though, so if you really need to, you can probably still grind heals through this effect. As for disrupting, you obviously have an interrupt, a single target stun, and an AoE disorient. It's a pretty basic kit, but it's a good one. In addition to that, you can use your grip abilities to interrupt casting too. So having 2 death grips is great, and if you know how to position, you could use a bomb limb as well, and for blood you have Gorfien's grasp on top of that. Doing it like this though only delays the cast, as the mobs will just recast their spell right away, but it can still be really useful to buy time. You will see me do this, especially in blood when I have like 4 grips. Frost Death Knights also have Frostwyrm's Fury, which can be specced into having an AoE stun, which is handy, and Unholy Death Knights have an extra mini stun if they manual cast the spell Gnaw via their ghoul. Now, like I said, I will play as all 3 specs, and each has their own way to survive. Blood, of course, is the easiest, but it's a tank spec, so it will take longer to delve. But if you want a safe experience where victory is guaranteed, you should just go as Blood. Deathstrike will be your main runic power spender, so you just get huge self-heals by default. Unholy is second to that, because as Unholy you can take the Sand Lane hero talents, which will give access to Vampiric Strike, and you should try to proc this as often as you can to weave self-heals into your rotation. Aside from that, you have Deathstrike should you need it. In Frost and Unholy, you have the Dark Sucker passive effect, which basically has Deathstrike act the way Victory Rush works for Warrior. Whenever you kill a mob, your next Deathstrike will be free and better. You should make use of this, you will need it. Especially in Frost, because in Frost, Deathstrike is all you have, which automatically makes Frost the hardest spec to delve with. But just play your cards right, make use of Bran's potions, and you can do it. But yeah, for difficulty I would say Blood easy, Unholy medium, Frost hard. For Bran, as always, DPS specs, Frost and Unholy, should take Healer Bran, and tank spec, this time Blood, should take DPS Bran. If you're struggling with Blood, or new to it, or don't fully understand it yet, you could take Healer Bran too, but it will just take a little longer to delve because of the DPS loss with Bran. As always, I will also take the Pacifist rig, because it's ridiculous. Alright, let's get to the delving. I started out with playing Frost in Earthquall Mines. We're playing a melee, so we will actually have to pay attention to our positioning. The Nerubian captain here does a cleave attack which you can dodge. Same goes for the AoE fear that this fearmonger does. Just pay attention to the patterns and the hitboxes of the abilities and you should be fine as a melee. Because of course as a ranged you can just outrange it. I knew these Darkcaster units can use the Shadow of Strife spell, which applies a pretty nasty dot, but here I use anti-magic shell to just negate it entirely. Other than that, just time your death strikes with the chunks of damage you'll take. I got a lucky pacifist rig here to bail me out though. Just do damage, disrupt, dodge and death strike. The 4 Ds. Oh wait, let's not forget these. You will see some damage spikes from the overlapping attacks we're taking, but it should be fine. Also keep an eye on where Brand's potions are, should you need them. I decided to have a go against the explosive allies, mobs that I notoriously hate, but I knew that anti-magic shell can negate their really annoying gold fuse debuff. There. Once they're on their mounts, they won't use gold fuse anymore. As for these two charging lads, it's best to just let them do their charge and not interrupt it, because if they are stopped while charging, they are stunned and take more damage. This includes if they just finish their charge normally, and as a DK you can just wait for that and grip them back to keep them stacked. They can still punch really hard though. For the web general here, as a Death Knight you'll want to interrupt one of the curses and use anti-magic zone for the other. I know that runic shackles slows you as well as deals damage. I'm not sure if the freedom effect that Wraithwalk has can remove that though. I haven't tried. Otherwise I'm sure you'll survive. You are a platy after all. I went Unholy next and had Excavation Site 9. It's the story with the portals, with the faceless boss at the end. That will be nice, because I can soak his curse with anti-magic shell, and his other two mechanics are a joke. You can already tell it's a little more comfortable here. I know my Unholy rotation is far from perfect, especially during this delve, because I hadn't touched the spec in a while, but with San Lane's Vampiric Strike, I feel generally safe with regular packs. And here's some DK bullying on this hideous amalgamation. That wasn't me calling them hideous though, that's their name. I think they're quite cool. And there's the stun. And the blinding sleet. And a grip. And another grip. And here again. Done. Sleet. Grip. Another grip. A bomb limb. And that's me forgetting that a bomb limb needs at least 8 yards of range in order to do the grip. And here Lure of the Void is up and it's meant to pull you in, but Death's Advance makes you immune to that. Here I went for a few more mobs. It's still manageable. Since it's runic power spenders that can proc Vampiric Strike, I made my build to bait out as many of those as I could. Festering wounds were a secondary priority for me right now. As for Underpin's bodyguard's intern, Bonebreaker can be avoided by just moving out of melee range before the cast finishes. He will keep trying though, so be prepared to keep moving, but the damage it saves by doing this is huge, and since we're not tanking, that's very welcome. Now this boss, like I said before, is a complete joke. Just interrupt the curse or use anti-magic shell if you somehow miss it. Otherwise, run from the fixate, dodge the circles, and defensives on the raid wide. You may not even need a defensive with how much self-heal you have via Vamp and Death Strike. For the fourth delve, I did Takrathon as Unholy. Really, nothing happened in this delve that we hadn't seen before, so I'm skipping straight to the boss. Normally the boss here is the Abomination, and I really hoped it would be, but in this specific story, the boss is Vindel Snapcrack. And this guy is an absolute menace for a melee. I wasn't sure how to handle the ads at first. Just disease them up and deal as much damage to them as I can without letting them touch me. I still end up eating some of the explosions. Not gonna lie here, the annoyingness of this fight, being melee and undergeared, and me not being fully in tune with Unholy yet, made for a pretty nightmarish experience. I would say that unless you know what you're doing, you should just play as Blood. It gets a little better when the ads are wiped out, but you gotta stay on top of them. I should have remembered that there was an extra action button here. And yes, the pacifist rig deciding to show up just a second after the boss is dead. Yeah, that's how it be sometimes. Sometimes it won't stop bailing you out, and sometimes it just abandons you for the entire delve. Alright, time for a little blood. Underkeep as a Blood Death Knight. I pulled a little larger because for tank specs, delving difficulty is pretty much halved.
but so is your damage, so you can make up for lost time by just pulling bigger. But there's no rush, you can cozily just do one pack at a time if you want. Though I messed up here, Gossamer Webbing and Grimweave Orb are spells you want to disrupt before their initial cast finishes. As soon as their channel starts, they can't be stopped, even with a stun. And just keep doing your regular rotation and disrupt the thing here or there. You may be hard to kill, but certain mechanics will still get you. Here I got impatient with this elite because of my low damage, so I just pulled this big boy into the next pack. So yeah, just play, dodge and disrupt. It gets a little boring and uneventful here because we're in a tank spec, and that's a good thing, I guess. That's what you want, right? So I'll skip right to the boss. This boss has 3 abilities. A big void zone that just denies area, a fixate where his damage increases, and a cast that should easily be interrupted. Normally you run away during the fixate, but if you're a tank, you can just man fight him, doesn't matter. Oh, do be careful with one thing though. During this boss's fixate meme, he will throw a few swirlies at you. These will hurt. And I'm saying this because you're probably looking at the boss during this phase, and it might catch you off guard. Like, look, it's happening to me. I just decided to tank him, and I'm not paying attention, and I just don't see the swirly. Watch your feet. Other than that, damage, dodge, disrupt. Bosses are a little bit of a damage sponge as a tank, but it is what it is. And there we go. Death Knight with all 3 specs through tier 11s at item level 620-ish. I think it was 621, but who cares. All 3 specs can work like we saw, but especially bosses can be difficult if you aren't a tank. And they will take long if you are a tank, so your choice. Naturally, the difficulty thing will smoothen out the more gear you have. Not sure who's next though. Rogue or Evoker, probably. Rogue will be a very unique experience. Well, happy delving, DKs.